is Emperor Ozorn. Ozone. Nope, none of those is right. Hi guys, I'm Amy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a book tag for all of you. This is the Build a Book tag, which was originally created by Leanne at Literary Diversions, and I was tagged by Olive at A Book Olive. If you are interested to see what kind of book I would build to create the perfect Amy book, then go ahead and keep on watching. Question number 1 is genre. Recommend a book that reflects your ideal novel's genre and mood. So I struggle here a little bit because I don't tend to read a whole lot of genre fiction. And my favorite go-to type of book is what I would say is literary fiction, which is technically not a genre. So what I've decided to go with is like historical literary fiction, which, like I said, I don't know if that's a genre or not. But I think a book that really exemplifies that very well is A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. This book is a very introspective, character-focused story in which we really dive deep into our main character, the Count, and his relationship with other people in the hotel and the people that were from his past that may not be at the hotel, but he thinks about a lot. And we really aren't rushed through a story. I get to take my time and enjoy it, and the writing in this book is also impeccable. It's playful and clever, and this book just really is a perfect Amy book. So if I could give you like a general feel of a book that is just very much a me book, I would go with this one. Question 2 is main character. If you could pull a main character from any book on your shelves to read another novel about, who would it be? And I didn't take a whole lot. It didn't take a whole lot for me to figure out what character I would pick. And that is Cassandra Mortmain from I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. I would love to see Cassandra as a grown woman, really trying to figure out her life, what career she wants to do, getting out of her family's home and striking out on her own. I would absolutely love to see that. Cassandra is one of those characters that I've mentioned this before, I relate to on a level so intense and deep that I don't know that I can properly talk about her as a character because of my connection to her. But I think it would be absolutely fascinating to see Cassandra become an adult and become who she is. And someone please write that for me, okay? Because I'm not a writer, but I would really love for that to happen. Question number 3 is supporting character. Who would be your main character's sidekick? This question I struggled with a little bit more because I wanted to find somebody for Cassandra who could maybe bring her down to earth a little bit, but also encourage her to live. And for that, I have decided to go with Agnes from All the Ever Afters by Danielle Teller. This is a Cinderella retelling, kind of, in that we are following Cinderella's stepmother, Agnes. We learn her story, how she became to be Cinderella's stepmother. And Agnes did not have an easy life. She was sold into indentured servitude when she was 10 years old to work at the castle, and her life takes her many different places. And she has children of her own, and she has a stepchild, and Agnes is a person of many, many layers, and I think her practicality and pragmaticism would really work well with Cassandra, but still Agnes is a loving woman just in her own way, and I think that would make a really interesting character to go alongside Cassandra. I don't know if she would be the same age as Cassandra in this book, so maybe a little bit more jaded in her 20s, or if she would be like a mentor type character. I don't know. I'll leave that up to you, but I do definitely recommend this book if you're looking for a really fascinating character. But I think Agnes would be a great complement to Cassandra. Number 4 is trope. What trope can you not get enough of? Recommend a couple of books you love that have used this trope. So I have to say, when I think of tropes, I think of things like the chosen one trope, Harry Potter, hate to love trope in romance novels, love triangles. And the thing is I don't feel like I have a plot device like that that is something I just love in a book. But I gave it a little bit of thought, and I decided to talk about the fact that I love books that have a narrator that is somehow separated from our story. So it's either a character that is looking back at their past or a memory, or it's just a narrator entirely removed from the story altogether. So the books that I have examples of, the first of which is Bitter Orange by Claire Fuller. You guys know the story, I talk about it all the time. But in this story, our main character, I can't think of her name, Frances, is looking back at a summer like 30 or 40 years previously. And so she's telling us about it with hindsight. And I think that just adds a really, really wonderful layer to a story in that a person is looking back at it and has had time to think about it, and maybe too much time to think about it. And I just think it adds a dynamic that I really, really enjoy. And a couple other books that do something similar, but actually have narrators that are a little bit more separated from the story. One of which is The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. This book is narrated by Death. It's a World War II story. I don't love this book as much as a lot of people do, but one of the things that I loved about it was that Death was our narrator and that he was removed from our characters for the most part. He really doesn't interact with them a lot, but he watched them, and I really enjoyed that. And then my most recent read that's an example of this is Lovely War by Julie Berry. I just talked about this book so many times lately. But Aphrodite is telling us her favorite love story, and she plays a really strong role and kind of interacts a little bit with our characters, whether they know it or not. And I really, really like it, and I think it adds a really fun element to the story. So anytime I'm hitting things, that a book gives a real, true narrator a place, I find that I enjoy immensely. Number 5, plot twist. Which book has your favorite plot twist? This was the question that gave me the most trouble, because I don't feel like I read books that have like a typical plot twist. I don't read thrillers. I don't really read mysteries. They don't appeal terribly to me. So I gave it a lot of thought, and I decided to go with The Trouble with Goats and Sheep by Joanna Cannon. And I think that this book is twisty in the sense that you're slowly building to something where there is then a giant reveal, and then you're like, oh, it all pieces together. And I think that aha moment for me was really big in this book. I can't remember if I figured it all out or not, but just the climax of this book was really, really great, and I very much appreciated it, and thought that it was done in a way also that wasn't too just like it smacked you upside the face. Like, you kind of got led into it very, very well. And I guess I'm gonna go with The Trouble with Goats and Sheep. Like I said, I struggled with this one, guys. I'm really sorry, but this book has some twists and turns and some revelations that make for a very fun reading experience. Question number 6 is relationships. What kind of relationship is important in your book? Show us your favorite bookish example of this kind of relationship. These questions are challenging. I thought so hard about this one as well, and I decided to go with The Strays by Emily Bitto, because I really enjoy a book that there's a strong theme of friendship in it. And friendship in the sense that it's not just this, oh, we're best friends, we do everything together and nothing ever goes wrong. Where there's some complexity to it, where there are some more intense emotions involved. And I just think it makes for a backdrop that gives the reader a lot to think about. And the fact that relationships are not cut and dry. In general, I just like any kind of relationship, be it a marriage or a friendship or family. It's one of my favorite things about reading is seeing how other relationships are portrayed or experienced. And this was a relationship in particular that I think is very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's very lasting. I remember a lot about Lily and Ava's friendship and the different points of their friendship and what it meant for them. And they're also young girls, which is something I enjoy. Just young children as narrators or main characters in general is something I really like. But just this idea that relationships are not as easy as we'd like them to be. And I think this book is a really good example of that. Question number 7 is villain. Which villain would you steal for your book? Again, I don't read a lot of books that have like a traditional villain. So I decided to go back, like way back to like high school reading to one of my favorite authors ever, and that would be Tamora Pierce's The Emperor Mage. This is book 3 of the Immortal series, and our main character in these books is Dane. She has this magical ability for animals and with animals. And she is going to this neighboring empire where she has joined because he has his favorite birds in his aviary are getting sick. And so she's going to investigate and see what's going on. But you figure out that Ozorn, our Emperor Mage, is maybe not up to some great things. But I think what I like about him as a villain is he's not just immediately a bad guy. Like, he's charming and you want to be around him and you want to spend time with him, and he's caring in a way that, you know, he's brought this woman from a neighboring kingdom in to help save his precious birds. But there's also some depth and darkness in him that is not so tasteful or enjoyable. And I like it when a villain has that complexity. That we're just gonna go with complexity because my phone's ringing and I need to answer it. Question number 8, and our final question, is ending. Which kind of ending do you like the best? All wrapped up, open-ended, or something else? Give us an example of your favorite ending. I knew exactly what book I wanted for this one, and that would be A Place for Us, I'm going to try not to blind you, by Fatima Farheen Mirza. I've talked about this book so many times since I read it last summer. And I think what's really incredible about this book is I love it when an ending makes you rethink everything you read and look at it from a different perspective, and it completely changes your experience of it. And this book does exactly that. It's also open-ended, which I tend to like. I would prefer a book probably to be more open-ended than perfectly tied up, but a balance of the two is really what I'm looking for, and I think this book is very successful in that. But the biggest thing is just really that opportunity for you as a reader to be, wait a minute, maybe I'm not so sure that I understood that correctly the first time. And not that you got it wrong, but maybe there's more to it than you originally thought. And Mirza just freaking nails it in that sense. The ending of this book astounded me. I still think about the ending of this book because I think it was perfect. I do. I think the ending of this book was perfect. I mean, I do think this book is perfect in general. I don't say that very often. I love this book. I know I talk about it a lot, but the ending was just the cherry on top. Perfectly done. All right, guys, there you have it. There is the Build a Book tag. I don't know what kind of book that would be. I just threw a lot at you guys, and that's a lot to take in for a single book, which I think is the beauty of the fact that we can't just like piece together a book for ourselves. Although there are those books out there that are just very obviously a you book, or as I call them, my Amy books, that are just like, that's a book I want to read. I'm not going to tag any in particular because this tag has been around for a while and Olive tagged me weeks ago and I've taken my sweet time to get to it. But if you guys haven't done this tag yet and want to consider yourself tagged, let me know if you do it. I'd love to watch. But if you guys like this video, go ahead and like it. And if you loved it, please subscribe, and we will see you in my next video. Happy reading!